Alright, bear with me, because I'm not sure exactly whether or not this is working here. Oh, I think we're live. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're live now. Holy shit. Was that easier than I thought it was going to be? I mean, kind of, yeah. Let's see. Alright. You're gonna have to bear with me, because I am... Okay, hold on. Oh, okay, it's live. Alright, well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing? My name is Zach Hardy, and this is my review for USW's Call to Greatness 2019 pay-per-view. The show happened this past Sunday, but obviously due to, amidst other things, such as motorcycles passing by, the reason I wasn't able to do so or review anything until now, Saturday, August the 3rd, was because of the fact that it's just been, for one, a long week, and for two, well, a long week. So, let's just get straight into the thick of things. This pay-per-view was a severity exclusive pay-per-view, emanated from Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this show. Move my kitchen chair. The majority... Oh, god damn it, I hit my knee. The majority of pay-per-views, intensity or severity branded, no matter the case, tend to be really great, right? You always tend to get Call to Greatness quadrupling the buy rate of a pay-per-view like this, Caution or Retaliation or any other show. Whilst at the same time, you always tend to find yourself enjoying the shows just as much. Obviously, there are reasons for that, but there is something to be said about the biggest show of the year being somewhat more enjoyable than a regular pay-per-view that is also really great. I'm just going to get into the card, because we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to start out with a kickoff match. Western Light, in his return match from retirement, defeats Choi Ji-Yu, who goes for a cross-body before being hit in the gut by Western Light with a kick, or a big boot, I guess, if you want to phrase it as anything. It would be a big boot after the top rope cross-body, who then lifts Ji-Yu up, hits the lantern for the pinfall victory. This was easily a really good match. The question I have is, based off the fact that you're trying to build Choi Ji-Yu just mere weeks after he debuted into a big deal, this loss at Caution confuses me greatly. It's not like I'm against it, because I think you need to have, especially with the idea of invincibility that you built in with Choi Ji-Yu, in which he's contended for the World Championship now and the International Championship now in some way, shape, manner, or form. He's inserted himself into those pictures and those topics of conversation. You've established this sort of quick run to the top that felt natural for one, but at the same time, just thrusted Choi Ji-Yu into the stars. Alright, you strapped a rocket to his back and you pushed him to the stars. And before it gets too out of hand, where he wins the world title within 3 months of debuting, you need to kind of bring him back down to earth. So while I like this match for giving you that and ensuring that, amongst other things, Choi Ji-Yu isn't hurt by a massive push, I'm not the biggest fan of it being to Western Light. I think you could have found a better opponent for Western Light to beat in his return match. And I don't think that he was the right person to beat Choi Ji-Yu. While I see it experience-wise, based off of Choi Ji-Yu just getting there, and Western Light having been working under the Reese family promotions since 2006, I can see the experience standpoint there and the reasoning behind it and the logic behind it, but I don't like the result, and I think there were better ways of going about it. Second match on the card was for the World Tag Team Championships. It was the Golden Manifesto, Mika Jordan and Austin Atomic, defending successfully against Chris Sanders and Drew Akron. I liked this match for the sake that it felt as if the Golden Manifesto were finally becoming their own team. They were gelling extremely well, much better than they had in the past months, which is saying something because they were gelling really well over the past few months as well. But since their World Tag Team Championship reign began a number of weeks ago, you've seen them steadily progress as a well-rounded and smart, intelligent tag team, which is very hard to do with two guys you ripped from the singles competition and the singles scene into a tag team and just placed them together, super glued them together, and made this mess. Most oftentimes, those kind of tag teams end up becoming a mess because singles performers are not meant to gel with other singles performers. But the Golden Manifesto has done that extremely well. And with Chris Sanders and Drew Akron being brought in on a one-off, based off of where their contractual obligations seem to be heading, which it's a puddle of confusion. It was very obvious Sanders and Akron were going to lose. It was just a matter of how great the Golden Manifesto is going to look in victory, and they looked really great. This match has made me much more it's given me a higher expectation for the Golden Manifesto's World Tag Team Championship reign, and it's given me this new found hope that they will get somewhere in the tag team division for a number of months, maybe a year and a half. It's given me hope that they'll stick around and be mainstays. And if they continue to evolve in the way that they've evolved over the past few months, Christ alive, that lisp, I can't see them becoming one of those sort of discarded tag teams that just ended up becoming a failed experiment. So, great match, and I think it does wonders for the Golden Manifesto. Third match on the card was Lone Wolf beating Jack Ramsey to retain the Global Championship. This match I was extremely happy with because I think both men, in the way that they have been booked over the past number of months, it just makes total sense for Jack Ramsey to take the fall to Lone Wolf, but at the same time, Lone Wolf to look semi-dominant, to the point where he's controlling some of the match, but the other half he's kind of having to fight back. So he's got this best of both worlds. Sorry, I gotta continue to move this kitchen chair. He's got the best of both worlds, in which he can control the pacing of the match, and he can control the direction it goes, but he can also be the guy that you want to root for to get back into the match, because no matter who his opponent may be, he can pull off the competitor against all odds sort of mentality just as well. When it comes down to Jack Ramsey, I really do enjoy his storyline with Austin Cole. They split as a tag team, they're off on their own, but they've been in a tag team for so long, and the last time they were both in singles competition, they were jobbers. So this is newfound territory, where they are singles competitors in a higher mid-card position. They're not taking the fall all the time. They actually have a reason to fight, because they have a reasonable chance to win. And they've got all this build behind them. This multi-time World Tag Team Champion. This multi-time USW Tag Team Champion. These guys have managed to go from jobbers in the singles division to being an incredible tag team. One of which I don't think gets all the credit they deserve, to now being off on their own again in the higher mid-card position. And they're losing matches. And Austin Cole is, losing matches. Jack Ramsey is losing matches, but they're losing matches that they are losing because of the experience and because of the position they're in. They're making slight slip-ups the way a rookie would. All right, they're making this sort of problem in which I think Austin Cole a few weeks ago fought in a match where he went for a tag to Jack Ramsey but realized that Jack Ramsey was not there. So it's this mentality that they have to then place themselves into the position they are now in, these upper mid-card guys, before they begin falling down the card, before they can get to where they needed to be mentally. So this storyline is looking great. I'm not the biggest fan of Jack Ramsey getting a global championship shot right off the bat, but I do like the exposure that a championship match gifted to Jack Ramsey in terms of people had their eyes on him now. All right, you didn't see Jack Ramsey in the global title picture before this because he was always in the world tag team title picture before this and in the very low mid cards. All right, so this is new territory, and it was a chance for new viewers to see what Jack Ramsey was capable of as a singles performer. I enjoy that exposure. I'm not the biggest fan, storyline-wise, of Jack Ramsey getting the global championship shot before Washington or Octavian or anybody. So it is very much a position of it doesn't make sense logically, but storyline-wise, I appreciate what it gave to Jack Ramsey. And it still keeps Lone Wolf looking strong, which has been incredible to watch after all of the years of just mismanagement with him. So, big fan of that, and I'm a big fan of the end with Jack Ramsey tapping into the Howler from Lone Wolf. Fourth match on the card. Sir Violence, Washington, defeats Austin Cole via forfeit. It's very simple. Washington just simply walks down to the ring, accepts his count-out victory, and walks backstage as the winner of the match via forfeit. Why did this happen? Not exactly sure. We'll find out later on. Fifth match on the card. World Women's Championship is on the line. Jade Oliver defeats Aphrodite to become the brand new World Women's Champion. Jade Oliver becomes the first woman in USW history to have won both the USW Women's Championship and the World's Women's Championship. This was a fun match. I enjoyed it. I thought that with Aphrodite, her feud with Taylor Hell was extremely well booked. I think Taylor Hell always looked great in the feud, but I think Aphrodite also had her struggles to go up. It made her feel a little bit more human, and being the biggest standout of the God Complex, you needed to have a reason to care about Aphrodite, and being able to find something resembling whatever it could be that you could gravitate to and relate to is always for the better. And the fact that she had to go up this uphill battle and fight this war to get back into the World Women's Championship picture made you see Aphrodite in a more human-like way than you probably had before, or probably ever had the chance to, or the opportunity to before. So it did wonders for Aphrodite's character. And then eventually she managed to, of course, win the World Women's Championship back from Taylor Hell. She managed to vanquish Taylor Hell from the Friday Night Severity roster. And now she was faced with the new challenge of Wednesday Night Intensity's former USW Women's Champion, Jade Oliver. I've always thought that Aphrodite being able to play a character instead of being able to play a champion was a better role for her. Obviously, looking at the God Complex, they are characters. They're performers based off of their characters and their gimmicks and their shtick. their face paint, their mannerisms, their theme, their entrance, their in-ring offense and defense and moveset, and the way they conduct themselves as a tag. They're just all very character orientated, all right? Everything down to the name of their finishing maneuvers, the solar eclipse, the silver city, those maneuvers and those mannerisms. They are the thing that makes the God Complex. And Aphrodite having the World's Women's Championship takes away from the ability to continue with that character, because at the top of the card, this freaky, face paint covered spasm-like individuals naming themselves after the gods and calling themselves the God Complex is not exactly World Championship material or World's Women's Championship material. Can you make it work? Absolutely. But Aphrodite just didn't get that chance. In her first 2 reigns, she was never able to take her character and who she was as a part of the God Complex and throw that and sprinkle some of that onto her reign with the World's Women's Championship. And so she felt like she was a different person in 2 worlds. She was either World Women's Champion Aphrodite, where she was a valiant babyface, but also a freaky deaky spasming heel. Or she was this God Complex character, but without the world title, no valiant babyface. She wasn't able to do both. She wasn't given the opportunity to mold both into her title run, or anything. So I found myself enjoying Aphrodite's character and Aphrodite on screen more as either a woman going after the World's Women's Championship or not in the World's Women's Championship picture at all, as opposed to when she was champion. As for Jade Oliver, I think Jade Oliver is great. I've kind of come around to her a bit since January. Excuse me. I don't think she is top dog material. I don't think she can be at the top of the card for too long and manage to connect in such a way that the top dog would connect with the audience, whether as a face or as a heel. I think she's extremely talented. I think she's a fantastic wrestler. I think she is great for short runs with the Women's Championship, but aside from short runs with the Women's Championship, I can't say that I see Jade Oliver as a champion, like a long-term face of the company champion. Maybe that'll change. Maybe she'll prove me wrong in this title reign or another title reign, but I like that Jade Oliver proved in the first chance she got that she didn't need modern-day royalty, her Equinox and Dina Lawson, to win the World's Women's Championship or to find success. She could find it on her own. It makes her, as a character, much more able to be looked forward to than when she was on Intensity, because as Women's Champion on Intensity, she always had modern-day royalty by her side. She was never without them. She always managed to get help from them. But now she doesn't have them on Severity. So as a booker, you needed to make her look capable of fighting her own battles. And not only did she fight her own battle, but she won the World's Women's Championship on her own. That is a massive stepping stone towards putting her into the thick of things in terms of character development. And I think this will end up being a good decision if they play their cards right. But at the end of the day, it does great for Aphrodite because she can go back to being Aphrodite of the God Complex. And it looks great for Jade Oliver, who now feels like a viable contender on her own. So this match legitimized both performers, both women, in the long run, which I am always a fan of. 6th match on the card. Paul Orlando defeats Octavian to retain the International Championship. How the Paul Orlando is going to lose the blue belt title, not the blue belt title, the international title at Bulletproof, isn't he? I can see that happening. I can see Paul Orlando, because Paul Orlando obviously beat Octavian to retain the international title, as I said. He won it at Bulletproof last year, Bulletproof 11. Bulletproof 12. 12th? Bulletproof 12 is in November. It would be a year, almost to the date, that he won the international championship. I would not be surprised if Octavian was the man to beat Paul Orlando. I think at the end of the day, this is going to be the stepping stone, like the starting point for Octavian's how would you say build into the championship picture. I think Octavian is great. I think Ovion and Artemis are a fantastic tag team. I think Aphrodite is a great character on her own. I don't think she needs the God Complex, but I think the God Complex is a nice feather in her cap. But Octavian is the guy I can see, especially after his World Championship opportunity last year against Alexander Rotten. I could absolutely see Octavian being one of the top guys on Severity in one way or another. Perhaps one world title reign for a short amount of time, built around a feud with the God with the God Complex around him. Aphrodite, Artemis, and Ophion having his back as Octavian faces, Suzuki Karakashi, and the Promised Land is behind him. And then we have this war between the Promised Land and the God Complex. Something along those lines. I could see that being the story of Octavian's world title reign, but I can see Octavian being a star in the company. And one of the best ways to go about becoming a star is winning the world title. And the one way to do that is by climbing the ladder. And what I mean by that is on intensity, get the red belt title, lose the red belt title, go for the blue belt title, and then lose the blue belt title, aim for the USW title. Same on Severity, global title, international title, world heavyweight title. Skipping the global title picture, Octavian could definitely beat Paul Orlando, become the international champion, and begin a reign that eventually it ends and he fights up into the World Heavyweight Championship picture. I think Paul Orlando is ready for the World Heavyweight Championship picture. I think he is a star. I think he's fantastic. I don't think they can keep him out of the World Championship picture for very long. As much as Hernasli versus Norse Cadaveri was a fantastic match and could end up becoming a cult classic, I think at the end of the day, what we have is Hernasli can't be world champion forever, alright? And Norse Cadaveri is great, but the wine cellar is not the top most credible threat to anyone, alright? So face what you've got in the main event picture right now on Severity. You've got Hernasli, Crosby Thorne, Norse Cadaveri, I guess. Paul Orlando is going to need to be the shot in the arm that gets the World Championship picture back to the place that the World Heavyweight Championship picture needs to be. And I think that can only happen once he loses the international title at Bulletproof, and I think it's going to be to Octavian. I think this loss is going to strengthen Octavian. I think it's going to make Octavian something more than what we've seen out of Octavian. I think he's going to begin taking a massive lead, perhaps become the guy that, or perhaps overthrow Aphrodite as the main figure, the leader, the mouthpiece of the God Complex. I could see this loss being the starting point for that, that evolution of his character into Bulletproof, where he dethrones Paul Orlando. This was a fantastic match, as all Paul Orlando matches are, but at the same time, it is a match that I think is the starting point of the story going into Bulletproof. So we can kind of pinpoint this on the map now. 7th match on the card, Chris Dalton defeats Olivia Montgomery. After the match, we get a shtick where Montgomery goes for a maneuver from the top rope. I don't know what she was going for, but the referee is distracted by Margot Silva, allowing for Natalie Dawson to throw Olivia Montgomery into the barricade on the outside. And then Silva tosses Montgomery into the center of the ring after Natalie Dawson manages to then begin distracting the referee herself, allowing for Chris Dalton to pin Olivia Montgomery. Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva then leave through the crowd, and Dalton goes up the ramp. So there's the feud already right now going on with Olivia Montgomery and Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva. And when it comes down to it, I think Chris Dalton is... I think she's great. You know, I don't want to say great. I think she's good. I think she's a really good wrestler. Her character is non-existent, and her microphone work is cringeworthy in some points, but I think she has the necessities to learn how to climb the card. I think this burst into capitalizing, like this heel capitalization off of unforeseen circumstances, wink wink nudge nudge, I think that's a good starting point for where to build her character. Olivia Montgomery being the valiant babyface, kind of taking over the Cindy Allison Jackson role against Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva is another great thing that I think will work wonders for both women, as I believe Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva are stars. I just don't think they've been booked as such. They're the only real duo, I think. They don't allude to it. They almost never allude to it, but I think Dawson and Silva, if I'm not mistaken, are supposed to be a lesbian couple. Just one that doesn't necessarily PDA, like, in the middle of the ring or on stage or whatever. Yeah, and it doesn't need to be alluded to. It's just like, that's who they are, and that's why they're a duo, which, you know, respect to that. But, you know, with that being said, I think at the end of the day, there's no story behind them. Like, sure, they're a couple, alright, and, you know, obviously you can't really allude to that as much as others, because a lesbian couple is not as easily favored as a straight couple, as it becomes this sense of, like, oh, are they queer baiting, or whatever the fuck it may be, whatever people could get offended by, one way or another. It is, like, that's the only thing about their characters that is defined. Alright, there's no goal in mind. There's no reason for them to even really be a duo in the middle of the ring, because of the fact that there's no tag team division. So it's really just, you watch my back and I'll watch yours, something along those lines, but it's not, you know, there's no real goal for Dawson and Silva. There's no point to their run for anything, because I don't know whether they're gunning for the World's Women's Championship, whether they're attacking people that they don't like, if there's a vendetta they have against a specific person, I don't know. There's nothing about Natalie Dawson and Margot Silva that I've got. So aside from the fact that they're a couple, I got no story with them. And I think they're great. They're fantastic wrestlers, and they can tell a great story. I think they're the two most underrated workers, not just wrestlers, but workers in the entire company right now. And it's because they're not given anything of substance to work with. So you place them in a feud with Taylor Hell for a number of months. They never get the job done. They keep losing, but they don't add any substance in terms of their story, or they don't add any substance to their story. They don't have any any reason for going after whatever the fuck it may be, because you don't even clarify that. That's a problem. You can't make a star when you don't have any sort of area to put the star. And at that point in time, you're just kind of throwing them to the wolves and hoping they find a way to dig a bone out of one of them and just take out the rest. So I think this is a good step in the right direction towards establishing a character for Olivia Montgomery, giving the crowd a feel for who Chris Dalton is, and, you know, doing something for Dawson and Silva going into Bulletproof. But at the end of the day, it's not something that I necessarily see as important. I don't know why they're going after Montgomery. Perhaps they'll clear it up, but for whatever reason, they're targeting Olivia Montgomery. And, you know, hopefully that will be given something of substance going further. Get to the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's a cult classic match. I really enjoyed it, but Hernasli defeats Norris Cadavery in the main event of the evening to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. At the end of the match, Crimson Red rushes out of the curtain as Hernasli's at the top of the ramp, celebrating his victory over Norris Cadavery. Crimson Red runs out, attacks Hernasli, lays him out with the wedding vows on top of the stage. Then Crimson Red takes the World Heavyweight Championship and raises it above his own head, walking backwards to the back. The show's bottom ticker flies, and then Crimson Red is hit from behind with a steel chair behind a curtain. The spotlights in the arena focus on the curtain at the gorilla position, and then fans pop. Fair enough, a really loud pop for Majigeta, who walks out to reveal himself as the man with a chair. Majigeta then proceeds to have Crimson Red stand up, and then he cracks Red over the head with a chair. So another chair to the head spot. Not a big fan of that. Then he sees Hernasli sneakily crawling back to the World Heavyweight Championship belt. Majigeta steps on his hand, picking him up, and throws him at the stage setup before hitting him with a decapitator against the LED board to another pop. One from the crowd and one from the LEDs itself. Majigeta then himself picks up the world title, places it on Hernasli's chest, before just standing at the top of the stage to a huge ovation. Just kind of taking in the moment, and that's the end of the show. So we've established now Crimson Red continuing this feud with Hernasli, whilst at the same time ensuring that Norris Cadavery is a part of it, but at the same time also adding Majigeta into the feud. So we've now got 4 guys currently gunning for the world title, or at least gunning in the World Heavyweight Championship picture, which I'm a fan of. I like the fact that they're giving themselves options, and I enjoy the fact that they're continuing this feud with Crimson Red and Hernasli in the way that they're continuing with those 2 characters, whilst at the same time adding Majigeta in so well. He just looked great with that spot, and that is the end of the show. All in all, I think it was a really fun show. I thought it was a good show. I thought there were pieces here and there, like Chris Dalton being the second to last match on the card I wasn't the biggest fan of. Chris Dalton versus Olivia Montgomery I'm speaking about. But aside from that, it was a fun show. I liked Caution. I think it was a great starting point for the build into Bulletproof, and that's what I have to say about it. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, what are your thoughts on the show? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Best match, worst match, whatever it may be. You can find me on Twitter at ZACHARYSERRA. No spaces, no underscores, no numbers, all lowercase. And let me know there. Until then, that was my review for USW Caution 2019. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy. I'm signing off.